work. Republicans need to stop playing games with our economy and start working for what American people want. Comprehensive deficit reduction that shares the burden, strengthens Medicare and Social Security, ends tax giveaways for the well-connected, and puts our country on a path to financial security. This bill fails to address these needs and should be defeated.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
If we're talking balance, let's remember the fact that a big tax increase is already coming in current law. Let's remind ourselves of the fact that in 2013, you have $800 billion in taxes with the health care law. The President's promising another $700 billion in tax increases. We've got a $1.5 trillion tax increase coming, hitting small businesses square on the bottom line. It's putting a chilling effect on jobs. And in the interest of balance, they want to put more tax increases on top of that. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Canseco.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, once again, in the debate over our nation's fiscal future, the House of Representatives is leading. I commend my colleagues for bringing forward a solution to cut, cap, and balance the federal budget. Together, these will help ensure that it is the federal budget that will be restrained and not the family budget. Regrettably, I cannot vote for this bill. I do so not because I have any issue with cut, cap, and balance. I strongly support that part of the bill. What I cannot support is that this bill fulfills President Obama's request to raise the amount of debt that will be borne by American taxpayers by over $2 trillion. Every American household's share of our national debt is already at $120,000, and President Obama has asked this House to add an additional $20,000 per household as a burden. It is regrettable that President Obama has asked Congress to raise the nation's debt ceiling and allow more debt to be thrust upon American taxpayers in order to pay for the spending binge he embarked upon over the past 2 years. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin has 8.5 minutes. The gentleman from Maryland has 8.25 minutes. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Israel.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank my friend from Maryland, Mr. Speaker. Well, they're right about something. This is cut, cap, and balance, except that it cuts at the middle class, it caps Medicare, and it balances budgets on the backs of seniors. And that is the fundamental difference between them and us, Mr. Speaker. Look, we agree that our debt is unsustainable and that we've got to tighten our belts. We've got to reduce spending. And we believe that we need to balance our budget through a balanced combination of spending cuts and revenue increases. And we've got to grow our economy. But here's what this budget says. It says to a constituent of mine living in Deer Park, New York, that if you're a middle-class family and you want to send your child to college, to Suffolk Community College, you pay more for your Pell Grant. You pay more for tuition. If you are a worker in Huntington who just lost a job because the corporation that you were working for outsourced your job to China, you watch your unemployment insurance capped or cut. But if you're a millionaire making over $1 million a year, you get a $100,000 tax cut. That's not cut, cap, and balance. It is an assault on the middle class, and it is an assault on fairness. Mr. Speaker, the middle class has always been the backbone of our economy, and this legislation is a kick in the stomach to the middle class. Mr. Speaker, they tell us that they want to cut spending. They will not cut spending when it comes to tax loopholes. They will increase it. They will not cut spending when it comes to those $4 billion in oil company subsidies. They will increase it. They will not cut spending when it comes to special interest tax preferences. They will increase it. But when it comes to the middle class, they want them to pay more. Mr. Speaker, the real cut, cap, and balance should be this. We ought to cut those tax loopholes. We ought to cap those tax subsidies. And we ought to balance this budget through the right and smart kinds of spending reductions and revenue increases that are fair. I thank the gentleman for his time.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, this time I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Utah, a member of the Budget Committee, Mr. Chaffetz.
Gentleman from Utah is recognized for 1 minute.
Routinely, the other side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker, has made the allegation that the President has offered a balanced plan. I would argue that he has offered neither. The President has never introduced a balanced plan. He's never had anything that's in balance. In fact, the budget that he submitted never balances. In fact, it doubles and then triples the debt. It went before the United States Senate. 97-0. That budget was rejected by the United States Senate. So to suggest that he's offered something in balance is not true. The second part of this, he has not introduced a plan to deal with this crisis that we're in. There is no piece of paper. There is no something. There's lots of speeches. There are lots of things going out and doing press conference, but we need a solution. What cut, cap, and balance does is it not only solves the short-term problem, it starts to put us on the right pathway, but it actually sends to the states. And ladies and gentlemen, what should we be afraid of? All we're asking to do is put forward a balanced budget amendment and send it to the states with a very high threshold where 3 out of 4 states would have to ratify it in order for it to become an amendment to the Constitution.
Additional 30 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
We keep spending money that we don't have. Every time we look at a decision, we have to understand that we're asking to pull money out of somebody's pocket and give it to somebody else. Those days are gone. I came to Washington, D.C. to change the way we do business. Cut, cap, and balance will do that. We need a balanced budget amendment. The choice is clear. Are you in favor of a balanced budget or not? That's what's before us today, and that's the direction this country needs to go to get its fiscal house in order. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Maryland reserves. The gentleman from Wisconsin.
We reserve the right to close. We have no more speakers, so I'll let the gentleman finish up. We have no more speakers.
Oh, well, then I have one. I do have one more. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey. Let me know if you need more.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 1 minute. Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to take time out for just a minute and go back to the question I'm hearing most people in America ask about, which is jobs. And one of the things we keep hearing from the other side is that asking ethanol producers to give up their subsidy or asking corporations to give up their special loopholes is a job-destroying idea. Please, before you cast this vote, all members look at these facts. In 2001 and again in 2002, we did what the majority says endlessly what they want to do. Cut taxes on the wealthiest Americans. The economy produced 0 net private sector jobs between 2001 and 2008. In 1993, President Clinton did the opposite of what the majority says it wants to do. He made a modest increase in the tax rate of the wealthiest Americans. The economy produced 23 million new private sector jobs. The House deserves the facts in going forward in this debate, and the American people deserve a real jobs plan from this House. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'll end where we started today, which is to say that our Republican colleagues are playing a very dangerous game with the economy and with jobs. What this legislation before us says is that unless we graft onto the Constitution a preference for their way of addressing the budget deficit, unless we do that, they will prevent the United States from paying its bills with all the terrible economic consequences for American families. So let's see what it is that they're demanding in exchange for letting the economy go. It's the same old plan that we saw in the House before. It does end the Medicare guarantee. It slashes Medicaid. It cuts education. And it protects special interest tax loopholes. But what makes this particularly egregious? What should, I think, upset every American is they're trying to engineer those changes through the Constitution. We keep hearing this is just a plain old balanced budget amendment. 49 out of 50 states have it. Not true. This would put into the Constitution of the United States, embed in our Constitution a provision that makes it easier to cut Medicare, Social Security, education. 50% vote. But if you want to cut a special interest tax loophole, I don't care whether it's oil and gas subsidy, corporate jet, you name it, that a lot of Washington lobbyists work overtime to get inserted in our tax code and which amounts through spending through the tax code. If you want to do that, you need a two-thirds vote. They put another mechanism into the Constitution. They would make it unconstitutional to balance the budget if we're having expenditures at the rate of 19 or 20% of GDP, according to the provision that came out of their amendment. In other words, the American people cannot choose a level of expenditures that would allow us to meet our obligations under Medicare and Social Security. Since 1966, our federal expenditures have been above 18% of GDP. In other words, since we enacted Medicare. So they want to prevent us, by constitutional fiat, from balancing the budget at a higher level of expenditures that it would allow us on Medicare. Let me make one last point on Medicare, because we've heard about the Democrats cut $500 billion. What we did was we eliminated the subsidy, 114% subsidy that was going to Medicare Advantage plans. We did do that. And you know what? Republicans say what a terrible thing, but if you look at their budget, they assume that change. They keep that change. What they don't do is what we did, which was to use the savings to close the prescription drug donut hole. The Republican budget would immediately reopen that donut hole. So they took the savings that they're complaining about, but they didn't use any of it to close the donut hole. Again, the fundamental question is this. We all understand that we've got to reduce the deficit. We've got to bring the budget into balance. The question is how we choose to do that. And why would we implant into the Constitution a mechanism that stacks the deck in favor of choosing to cut Medicare and Social Security and education over choosing to cut corporate tax loopholes or asking the folks at the very top to pay more? But they would do that to our Constitution. Look, the founders made it difficult to change the Constitution for good reason. And this, I believe, is a corruption of the constitutional process because it would place these mechanisms into our founding document that essentially graft the Republican budget plan into that document. And that's what this vote is all about. And what they're saying is unless two-thirds of the House and two-thirds of the Senate adopt that kind of constitutional amendment, we're not going to pay our bills. Bills which the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader and people on both sides of the aisle should pay because they are the consequence of decisions that were made by this body. And right or wrong, when you ring up a bill, you can't say you're not paying for it. And if we take the position that we're not going to pay for it, the economy will suffer, interest rates will go up, that will hurt every American family, and it will make it harder for us to reduce the deficit. So let's come together around a balanced plan. The President's put a proposal on the table, $4 trillion over 10 to 12 years, patterned after the bipartisan Simpson-Bowles Commission, $3 in cuts, $1 in revenue. Let's take a balanced approach. That's the way we did it the last time our budget was in surplus. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All time for the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the remainder of time, and I ask unanimous consent to address the House in the well.
Without objection. Gentleman has 7 minutes remaining.
Mr. Speaker, here's our problem. We have a crushing burden of debt that is coming to hit our economy. This is what it all comes down to. We are driving our country and our economy off of a cliff. The reason is because we are spending so much more money than we have. We can't keep spending money we don't have. 42 cents out of every dollar coming out of Washington, it's borrowed money. Let's take a look at where it's coming from. We're borrowing it, 47% of it, from other countries, China #1. Mr. Speaker, you can't have sovereignty, self-determination as a country if we're relying on other governments to cash flow half of our deficit. This is where we are. Here's the problem we have right now, Mr. Speaker. We have a leadership deficit. I keep hearing about the President's got a plan, the President's offering balance. The President hasn't offered a thing yet. Nothing on paper, nothing in public. Leading on reporters at press conferences is not leadership. Giving speeches, according to the CBO, is not budgeting. The President did inherit a tough problem. No two ways about it. What did he do with this problem? He drove us deeper into debt. $1 trillion of borrowed money for stimulus that was promised to keep unemployment below 8% and went up to 10, and now it's at 9.2. A stalled economy. A budget the President gave us that doubles the debt in 5 years and triples it in 10 years. That's not leadership. What has the other body done in the Senate, our partners on the other side of the aisle? Mr. Speaker, it's been 811 days since they bothered trying to pass a budget. Congress has gone for 2 years without a budget. What did we do when we assumed the majority? We passed a budget. We wrote a budget. We did it in daylight, not in the back room. We drafted it. We brought it to the committee. We had amendments. We brought it to the floor. We debated it, and we passed it. That is what we've done. And when you take a look at our problem, Mr. Speaker, you have to address what is driving our debt. Here is just the cold, hard facts. 10,000 people are retiring every day. The baby boomers are here, and we're not ready for them. Far fewer people are following them into the workforce. Health care costs are going up 4 times the rate of inflation. The Congressional Budget Office is telling us Medicare goes bankrupt in 9 years. Medicaid is already bankrupting our states. These are the drivers of our debt. By the year 2025, 3 programs, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, plus our interest, consume 100% of all federal revenues. By the end of this decade, 20% of our revenues go to just paying interest. This is unsustainable. So what does our budget do? What does the document that we pass that shows leadership on this issue do? It saves these programs. For Medicare, we say, you already retired if you're retired. If you're about to retire, we don't want to pull the rug out from under you. You organize your life around these programs, so let's keep it as is. But in order to cash flow that commitment, in order to make good on that promissory note, you have to reform it for the next generation. And let's do it in a way that looks like the commission that President Clinton authored. A system that resembles the one we have as members of Congress, where we get to choose the plans that meet our needs, where we don't subsidize wealthy people as much, and we subsidize low-income and sick people a whole lot more. That's what a safety net is. We fix it and we save Medicare. What does the other body do? Or, excuse me, what does the law do that the President does? Raids $500 billion from Medicare, puts a new board in charge of price controlling and rationing care to current seniors, and does nothing to save it from bankruptcy. These are the issues that have got to be dealt with. Mr. Speaker, we keep hearing about balance. We keep hearing about the need to raise taxes as we cut spending, $3 for one or something to that effect. The red line shows Congressional Budget Office projections on spending. The green lines are taxes. Basically what this says is there's no way you can tax your way out of this problem. We asked the Congressional Budget Office, if we try to do that, have balance, raise taxes, the tax rates on the next generation would be this. The lowest income tax bracket that lower income people pay, which is 10% now, goes to 25%. Middle income taxpayers pay a 66% rate. And the top tax rate, which is what all those successful small businesses that create most of our jobs pay, would go to 88%. That's according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's the path we are on right now. This is unsustainable. What is needed is leadership. And the reason we're talking about this debt limit increase is because we've seen none. None from the President, none from the other body. And so if we're not going to have a budget process, how on earth are we going to get spending under control so we can solve this problem? Our budget, this cap and this cut, gets the debt paid off. It puts us on a path to prosperity. It closes loopholes to lower tax rates to grow jobs. It says that the genius of America is the individual, is the business, not our government. It maintains the American legacy of leaving the next generation better off, which we know, without a shadow of a doubt, we are leaving the next generation worse off. You know, in the good old days of 2007, we used to say that this debt was a threat to our children and our grandchildren. Not so anymore. It is a threat to our economy today. Pass, cut, cap, and balance. Save this country, grow the economy, and save the nation for our children and our grandchildren. With that, I yield.
All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 355, the previous question is ordered on the bill. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill to cut, cap, and balance the federal budget.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit it to desk.
Is the gentleman opposed to the bill?
I am in its current form.
The gentleman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Motion to recommit offered by Mr. Bishop of Georgia. At the end of Section 301, add the following new subsection. C, protecting our veterans. It shall not be in order in the House of Representatives or the Senate to consider any balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that could result in a reduction in veterans' benefits.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes in support of his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, there are many times when we come to this floor and engage in heated debate, and we've heard some heated debate today. This so-called cut, cap, and balance bill does just that. It cuts and it caps programs that will work for everyone and put America ahead of our competitors. It cuts and caps our ability to jumpstart new industries in our country, like clean energy. It cuts and caps our ability to rebuild our economic infrastructure, like roads and bridges and ports, and put people to work. It cuts and caps education and job training opportunities to help middle-class people get and keep good jobs. Yes, it cuts and it caps, but it balances the cuts and the caps by protecting tax breaks for the wealthiest folks in our country, by providing subsidies for corporations that take jobs overseas away from American workers, by cutting Medicare and Social Security benefits for our nation's seniors, balancing on the backs of them. So I have some problems with this bill, Mr. Speaker, but I'm a realist, and I realize reluctantly that it might just pass. So regardless of how we may feel about the underlying legislation, this motion to recommit is something upon which we ought to all be able to agree. It simply says that it shall not be in order in the House of Representatives or the Senate to consider any balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that could result in a reduction in veterans' benefits. Mr. Speaker, we have already seen what a shortfall in veterans funding can do. I remember the problems with veterans care. I remember the $1 billion shortfall a few years ago when the Department of Veterans Affairs had to raid its operations and maintenance account to help pay for veterans' basic medical care. Even now, veterans have to wait years to have their claims adjudicated because there are just not enough adjudicators. They have to wait too long to get doctors to get their treatment. Mr. Speaker, with more of our service members returning home every day, more vets returning home who have no opportunity or limited opportunity for job training, returning home with PTSD, or returning home now having to face the possibility of limited educational benefits because of this bill and its progeny. Mr. Speaker, now is not the time to endanger benefits to our nation's veterans. When veterans come home without limbs because they have defended our freedoms, we should not put in place cut, cap, and balance legislation on their backs, the backs that are strained and damaged by the injuries they sustained fighting for this country. We should not stand idly by and watch this Congress endanger the welfare of our nation's heroes. Today's nation's military remains deployed overseas as it has during the last 9 years. The funding requirements we face in meeting the needs have significantly increased as we continue to meet and address the long-standing issues from past and current wars. And we cannot watch the requirement for these fighting men and women who come home continue to die. These needs last long after the last American combatants depart Iraq and Afghanistan. This motion to recommit would simply protect our veterans from any potential unintended consequence resulting from this ill-conceived bill, the so-called Cut, Cap, and Balance Act. The needs of America's veterans, past and future, should be one of our highest priorities, and this motion will ensure that our veterans are taken care of and that they receive the benefits they have earned. Let's be clear. The passage of this motion to recommit will not prevent the passage of the underlying bill. If the amendment is adopted, it will be incorporated into the bill and the bill will be immediately voted upon. So though we may disagree on the bill, today we have the opportunity with this motion to recommit and my amendment to speak with one voice in support of our veterans. It is up to all of us. I urge you to vote yes on this motion to recommit. But let's make sure that if this bill passes, the cut, cap, and balance, and any balanced budget will not result in a reduction of veterans' benefits. Vote yes on the motion to recommit and protect our nation's veterans.
Gentleman's time has expired. What purpose does the gentleman from Wisconsin rise?
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to the motion.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I have fantastic news. All of the gentlemen from Georgia's concerns have already been addressed in this legislation. Let me simply refer you to Section 317, where it says exempt from direct spending limits. Section B3, Veterans Benefits and Services, which is all of Function 700. Let me refer you to Section 318 that shows when it comes to sequester, which is basically an enforcement mechanism on spending caps, exemption, veterans benefits. Veterans benefits are explicitly preserved in this legislation, just as they are with the budget that we had passed, that this cap and cut conform to. So make no mistake, Mr. Speaker, there are no cuts to veterans in here because we agree. The men and women out there fighting on the front lines for our freedom have been given promises to benefits like health care and others, and those promises of all are to be kept. And so that is why we've already taken care of the gentleman's concerns. So the recommit is unnecessary because we preserve these benefits explicitly. I will not yield, and with that, because there's not much more to talk about, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The noes have it, and the motion is not agreed to. Gentlemen, is yes for the ayes and nays. Those favoring a vote by the ayes and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the ayes and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 8 and Clause 9 of Rule 20, the 15-minute vote on the motion to recommit will be followed by a 5-minute vote on passage of the bill if ordered and approval of the journal. This is a 15-minute vote.
It is 2 weeks till August 2nd when the U.S. hits the statutory limit of $14.3 trillion of the debt ceiling. And a number of movements on that front, including here on the House floor today, with debate on the Republicans' debt reduction plan, the so-called cut, cap, and balance bill. 5 hours of debate on the floor. It is a bill that requires more than $100 billion in spending cuts this year. It creates mandatory caps on future government spending, and it also ties any debt limit increase to Congress passing a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Final action here with the motion to recommit vote. One last chance to change the bill. Final passage after that, following, as we said, 5 hours or more of debate on the House floor. Well, you've heard from members, and we'd like to hear from you what you think about the Republican debt reduction plan, and more broadly, some of the discussion on how to solve the problem coming up in 2 weeks, the debt ceiling. 202-585-3885 is the number to call if you're a Democrat. If you're a Republican, the number is 202-585-3886. Independents, your number is 202-585-3887. If you've gotten through any C-SPAN program in the last month, give others a chance to call in this evening. We will read as many as we can. If you don't get through, you can also remember that we are streaming live and taking your comments live at facebook.com/C-SPAN. Before we get to your calls, though, we want to show you the president from earlier today, just over 5 minutes or so. President Obama said today that the deficit reduction agreement that apparently has been reached by this bipartisan group of senators known as the Gang of Six is a significant step in the stalled negotiations. The president also spoke briefly about the House action today, this debate on this balanced budget amendment. We'll show you the president's comments and then get to your phone calls in just a moment.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to give folks a quick update on progress that we're making on the debt ceiling discussions. I was in contact with all the leadership over the course of the weekend and continued to urge both Democrats and Republicans to come together around an approach that not only lifts the debt ceiling, but also solves the underlying challenges that we face when it comes to debt and deficits. Some progress was made in some of the discussions, some narrowing of the issues. Speaker Boehner and the Republican House caucus felt it necessary to put forward the plan that they're going to be voting on today. I think everyone's estimation is that that is not an approach that could pass both chambers. It's not an approach that I would sign, and it's not balanced. But I understand the need for them to test that proposition. The problem we have now is we're in the 11th hour, and we don't have a lot more time left. The good news is that today a group of senators, the Gang of Six, Democrats and Republicans, I guess now Gang of Seven because one additional Republican senator added on, put forward a proposal that is broadly consistent with the approach that I've urged. What it says is we've got to be serious about reducing discretionary spending, both in domestic spending and defense. We've got to be serious about tackling health care spending and entitlements in a serious way. And we've got to have some additional revenue so that we have an approach in which there is shared sacrifice and everybody is giving up something. And so for us to see Democratic senators acknowledge that we've got to deal with our long-term debt problems that arise out of our various entitlement programs, and for Republican senators to acknowledge that revenues will have to be part of a balanced package that makes sure that nobody is disproportionately hurt from us making progress on the debt and deficits, I think is a very significant step. And as I said, the framework that they put forward is broadly consistent with what we've been working on here in the White House and with the presentations that I've made to the leadership when they've come over here. So here's where we stand. We have a Democratic president and administration that is prepared to sign a tough package that includes both spending cuts, modifications to Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare that would strengthen those systems and allow them to move forward, and would include a revenue component. We now have a bipartisan group of senators who agree with that balanced approach. And we've got the American people who agree with that balanced approach. My hope, and what I will be urging Speaker Boehner, Nancy Pelosi, as well as Leader Reid and Mitch McConnell, is that they tomorrow are prepared to start talking turkey and actually getting down to the hard business of crafting a plan that can move this forward in time for the August 2nd deadline that we've set forward. Just a couple other points I will make. Some of you may ask, what does that mean for the plan that Senator McConnell and Senator Reid had been working on? Our attitude is that that continues to be a necessary approach to put forward. In the event that we don't get an agreement, at minimum, we've got to raise the debt ceiling. So that's the bare minimum that has to be achieved, but we continue to believe that we can achieve more. And so I want to congratulate the Gang of Six for coming up with a plan that I think is balanced. We just received it, so we haven't reviewed all the details of it. It would not match perfectly with some of the approaches that we've taken, but I think that we're in the same playing field. And my hope is that we can start gathering everybody over the next couple of days to choose a clear direction and to get this issue resolved. So far, at least, the markets have shown confidence that leadership here in Washington are not going to send the economy over a cliff. But if we continue to go through a lot of political posturing, if both sides continue to be dug in, if we don't have a basic spirit of cooperation that allows us to rise above immediate election year politics and actually solve problems, then I think markets here, the American people, and the international community are going to start reacting adversely fairly quickly. So I think it's very important for in these next couple of days to understand we don't have any more time to engage in symbolic gestures. We don't have any more time to posture. It's time to get down to the business of actually solving this problem. And I think we now are seeing the potential for a bipartisan consensus around what that would take. It will be hard. It will be tough. There's still going to be a lot of difficult negotiations that have to take place in order for us to actually get something done. And as I said, we have to have that fail-safe that Senator McConnell and Senator Reid are working on. But the hope is that everybody seizes this opportunity. All right? Okay, guys, I'm going to let Jay answer questions today. I think I've been pretty good to you guys. But after the votes today in the House, I'll call up Speaker Boehner and the other leadership, and we'll arrange for times where we bring folks back here. And hopefully, we'll be able to report on some additional progress over the next few days. All right? Thank you very much, guys.
Supporting the Gang of Six plan? Would that be in the next day?
Well, as I said, I think what you're going to be seeing is an evaluation of that plan versus the things that we've been looking at. I think what you're going to see is some significant overlap. But obviously, just because we might agree in principle with a range of issues with 6 senators or 7 senators, that doesn't get us out of the House of Representatives. That doesn't get us out of the Senate. There's going to have to be a broader agreement on the part of all the leadership that we're going to get this done in a serious way, and we've got a tight deadline to do it. All right? Thanks, guys.
comments from President Obama earlier today, and these are the votes to which he was referring there at the end of his comments. This motion to recommit on a bill, the Republican reduction plan, debt reduction plan, that cuts and caps federal spending and requires Congress to pass a balanced budget amendment. This is the motion to recommit vote. Final passage is coming up, and we're going to open up our phone lines. We appreciate your patience. We'll get first to Louisville, and in Kentucky, this is Gregory on our Democrats line. Hi there.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Gregory.
Gregory, do us a favor if you don't mind. Please mute your television. I'll come right back to you. Just make sure you hit the mute button there. We'll come right back to you. To Republican line, it's Jeff in St. Louis.
How you doing? My name's Jeff. I'm from St. Louis. I just want to point out that this is the same old thing that Democrats always do. They want to hike our taxes and then promise spending cuts in the out years. They did it to Reagan, and then they vilified Reagan for the deficits. They did it to George H.W. Bush, and he got fired for the same reason. Oh, we'll raise taxes, and we'll give you the tax or the spending cuts later. Spending cuts never happen with these guys. Just look at the graph. Federal spending has always increased every year since World War II. It's time to stop spending now.
Back to Louisville and Gregory on our Democrats line. Hi there.
How you doing? I would just like to just keep it short and simple. I agree with the guy that just spoke to stop the spending, but I do think that now not only if they cut the Medicare and the Social Security, we won't only be looking at one problem, we'll be looking at two. Thank you.
To Post Falls, Idaho, Michael's on our Independence line. Good evening.
Hello, I'd like to address this too, because, this is a problem that we have been faced with over the past decade, actually. It's not just under Obama, but it was also under Bush. Now, when we look back at Reagan, he came in, he was able to solve the financial crisis that America was faced with at that time. Now, granted, it took a few years for him to get things fixed, but he got it fixed. Now, with this, granted, it's a much messier financial crisis, but there's programs that I have looked at that they're wanting to take some from, such as Job Corps. Now, those programs, such as Job Corps, we need to leave alone, but yet they need to focus on the programs that haven't offered any solutions to Americans on anything. They also need to take care of the programs that overlap, while at the same time fixing Social Security.
And do you think by looking at these programs that overlap and the ones that don't work, do you think is that where we're going to find the most amount of savings and able to solve this debt problem?
Most definitely. And, this has been a problem for several years now that there's been programs set up that have overlapped one another, and it just spends more money than we actually need to be spending.
All right, Michael in Post Falls, Idaho, thanks for your comments. To Waldorf, Maryland on our Democrats line, as we watch the House vote, this motion to recommit and final passage next on the so-called cut, cap, and balance bill the Republicans have put on the floor. Here's Roderick in Waldorf, Maryland.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. The Republicans, I've been watching the debate on the floor for hours now, and the Republicans keep on saying, "Where is the president's plan?" And Congressman from my state, Congressman Chris Van Hollen, has repeatedly said the president's approach, that his plan's on the table. So my question to you is, why do the Republicans insist on coming to the floor and saying, "Where is the president's plan?" when him and Democrats obviously has put their approach out on the table? So I don't understand why the Republicans keep coming up on the floor and keep saying, "Where's the president's plan?"
Next up is Scottsdale, Arizona. Kelly on our Democrats line, Republican line. Hi, go ahead. Kelly, you there?
Yes, make sure it's Republican line.
Okay, my mistake. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the gentleman just spoke. He said the president had a plan. That's like, I have a plan and I want to lose 20 pounds. And let me go. Do I want to go to the doctor that tells me if you eat chocolates and chocolates and malts and everything else, you can lose your 20 pounds? Or do I want to go to a place that you got to exercise and you got to eat this, this, and this? That's the difference. And there is no plan. The president hasn't put a plan. And you know what? Let's put it out there. Chris Van Hollen, Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, all of them voted against raising the debt limit when Bush was president. Now it's a sacred cow, and we got to do this because the poor president. The other thing, they're talking about what they're saying about the kid that Paul Ryan.
Yes.
Let's put it out there. The Medicare costs 10 times more than Johnson said it was going to cost at this time. Nobody talks about that. 10 times more. I'm 64 and a half. All of you idiot Democrats are going to be paying for me, which I think is ridiculous. I could still work. I still am working. I don't need to go to Medicare, but this is what you Democrats want, so you can pay for that for me. I'm a small business owner. We let some people go. We cannot pay health insurance.
What kind of business do you run, Kelly?
A music store.
Thanks for calling in. We're going to continue to take your calls. Again, the House is voting on this motion to recommit, a last chance to change the legislation, which is the Republican debt reduction plan that has taken up about 5 or 6 hours of debate time this afternoon on the House floor. Motion to recommit vote here. Final passage coming up next. Let's get back to calls. Shepherdstown, West Virginia, on our independent line. Bill, hi.
Hi. I'm glad to see all of this. It shows me clearly that the Republicans have lost their mind absolutely, completely. The Democrats aren't far behind. But this Republican idea that we could cut, not when we have to, we're in, we aren't out of this recession yet. We can't be cutting our spending completely down to zero. It's ridiculous.
Well, you've criticized the Republican argument there. Now, what do you find wrong with what the Democrats were saying here in this debate?
Well, I don't find anything wrong with what the Democrats are saying in this debate, but I don't think much of them either. They're not trying to do the right thing for the country. Neither of them are. The rich own both sides, so it really doesn't make much difference.
Okay, Bill, here's Fresno, California, and Connie on our Democrats line.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. I'm semi-retired. I work 28 hours a week. I will be 66 in January, and it really grieves me to think that down the road, when I could no longer work my 28 hours a week, that if my Social Security gets cut, the Medicare goes away, I don't have relatives to support me. A lot of people are very fortunate. They have a lot of income coming in. I have very limited. Why can't we go back to the time when Clinton was president and everyone had jobs, we had surpluses, we had a balanced budget, and nobody talked about the debt ceiling? I would just like some input into that. I paid into Social Security my whole life since I was 14. Now they're going to take it away. I'm really stressed.
Going to let you go there, Connie. Got a couple more calls as this vote winds down. Let's go to our Republican line, Asheville, North Carolina. James, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question on what the Democrats are using for scare tactics. They're saying that they're not going to pay Medicaid, they're not going to pay Social Security if the cut, cap, and balance is in place, but yet every week in my paycheck, Social Security is taken out, Medicaid is taken out, and I don't understand why they're saying that can't be paid when we're borrowing money from China to turn around and give to the United Nations so they can give it back to China to research AIDS. Why can't they do that for themselves?
One more here. Tony is in Long Island. You get the last comments here as the House winds down this vote. Independent line.
I'm completely dissatisfied with both parties in Washington. What I would like to see is extend all of the terms of the congressmen, senators, and presidents. So we go to 3 years for a congressman, 8 years for a senator, and 6 years for a president.
Well, how specifically, James, how specifically would it help this issue? If you could tell us real briefly.
They should all be limited to one term.
Thanks for weighing in. This vote is just about wrapped up. Again, the motion to recommit vote here, which is falling short of the number needed to pass, and they will go to final passage on this bill, this Republican debt reduction plan, which would require about $100 billion in spending cuts this year, would create mandatory caps on future government spending, and it would also limit tie the debt increase to a congressionally passed constitutional amendment, a balanced budget amendment. Final passage is next.
Motion is not adopted. The question is on passage of the bill. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Virginia.
That's for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
This is final passage on the House debt reduction plan, the so-called cut, cap, and balance bill that would cut and cap federal spending and require that Congress pass a balanced budget amendment before approving a debt limit increase. Last bit of legislative work for the day in the U.S. House. We expect possibly one more recorded vote next. That'll be a vote on the Journal, the official record of the previous day's activities. But here's final passage on the debt reduction plan.
On this vote, the yeas are 234 and the nays are 190. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the question on agreeing to the Speaker's motion on approval of the journal on which the yeas and nays were ordered. The question is on agreeing to the Speaker's approval of the journal. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
So the House passes the Republican debt reduction plan, a bill that requires $111 billion in spending reductions. It establishes statutory caps to limit total government spending. It also provides for the President's request for an increase in the debt ceiling, but makes it contingent on a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution passing Congress and being sent to the states for ratification. The final vote, 234 to 190. Here the House voting on the journal, the official written record of the previous day's activities, and that should do it for recorded votes for this evening. Now, on tomorrow's Washington Journal, one of the sponsors of that balanced budget amendment, Virginia Congressman Bob Goodlatte, will join us. We'll also hear from Vermont Democrat Peter Welch. All of that getting underway at 7 o'clock Eastern, and that'll be here, of course, on C-SPAN.
On this motion, the yeas are 304, the nays are 112, with one voting present, and the motion to approve the journal is adopted. Were you trying to stop me?